Welcome to Frame by Frame, the channel where we break down iconic movies one frame at a
Some
time.
incredible, kind of surprising details today.
Indeed, and we're not just dissecting a film here, we're exploring a really central question it poses. Was Judgment Day truly averted after Terminator 2, or was it merely postponed?
Right.
This film, it really dares to challenge our very understanding of fate and free will within the Terminator universe, pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible, really, for humanity's future.
So, okay, here's where it gets really interesting right from the start. James Cameron, the visionary mind behind the first two films, he saw Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 as a perfect self-contained story. He even called them a perfect loop and full circle. He famously wasn't interested in making a third movie. Is it fair to say he felt he'd said everything he needed to say? Or was there maybe more to his reluctance than just creative closure?
Oh, it's absolutely fair to say that, and probably then some. Cameron's thematic intent for the first two films was incredibly profound and certainly in his mind fully realized.
Right.
He viewed Terminator 1 as exploring these deep themes of parenthood. You've got Sarah as the mother, Kyle Reese as the biological father, and in a fascinating twist, even the original T-800 acting as a sort of father figure whose arrival indirectly leads to Skynet's creation. That's the perfect loop he referred to. Skynet's existence becomes completely entwined with John Connor's future, you see.
Right.
Terminator 2, for him, completed this cycle by showing John as a child taking things in a different direction, an individual who ultimately broke that very cycle, at least in Cameron's initial sort of hopeful vision. He truly felt the narrative arc was complete, and any continuation would just dilute its powerful message.
But Hollywood, as it often does, had other plans. And the lure of a successful franchise is a powerful thing, right? Maybe more powerful than a director's artistic vision sometimes.
Definitely.
Incredibly, Cameron only owned 50% of the rights to the Terminator universe. He eventually sold his share to his ex-wife, Gaylan Hurd, for just $1.
$1. Wow.
Yeah. Now, this came with a stipulation, crucially, that he would get to direct any future installment. It seemed like a safety net almost, an artistic lock, ensuring he'd only return if he truly wanted to, basically shelving the idea unless he changed his mind.
Which is fascinating, because what's truly interesting here is how much external factors just kept influencing the project, almost like an unyielding destiny for the franchise itself, even after Cameron's initial, disinterest.
Yeah. Despite their divorce by 1989, Hurd still held significant sway over the rights, and these immense economic pressures pushed production forward. You have to remember, Terminator 2 was just monumental.
Oh, huge.
A massive success, breaking the bank, becoming the third highest grossing film of all time after its '91 release. So Kuroko and TriStar Pictures, the original distributors, they desperately wanted a quick sequel turnaround, ideally within 5 years to capitalize on that success.
Makes sense.
But their bankruptcy in 1995, unfortunately for them, that opened the door for 20th Century Fox to aggressively seek the rights. So this intricate web of financial and legal maneuverings, it really dictated the future of the franchise, almost against the original creator's wishes.
Wow.
It just shows how intellectual property can take on a life of its own in Hollywood,
Definitely. So with the rights moving and the financial incentives just so high, the initial ambition for T3 was actually huge. They planned to shoot both Terminator 3 and 4 back-to-back.
Whoa, really? Both? Yeah. Can you imagine that? A grand, continuous narrative mapping out the next, several years of the franchise. But concerns that T3 might not be successful on its own, or maybe just the sheer logistical nightmare of producing two massive interconnected films at once, ultimately led them to just focus on one movie.
Probably a wise decision looking back.
Yeah, maybe, given the complexities we're about to dive into and the eventual reception of the film.
Well, it's intriguing to think about what T3 almost became, though. With all that ambition, what kind of wild early concepts were they tossing around before Jonathan Mostow actually took the reins?
Right.
Originally, for example, John Connor was supposed to be working at a .com company that ended up creating Skynet.
Oh, wow. The irony.
Totally ironic, yeah. A devastating twist, putting him in direct collaboration with the very thing he was destined to fight. That's a far cry from the nomad we ended up getting, who was trying to disappear off the grid.
Totally different character.
And they also envisioned the new female Terminator, the TX, being able to turn invisible, much like the Predator.
Like Predator. Okay.
Yeah, but this was quickly scrapped, likely because, as the source notes, the franchise had fought one already, referring to the clear similarities to the Predator's iconic cloaking device. It would have felt a bit redundant, maybe, a bit too derivative for the filmmakers.
Yeah. Probably smart to avoid that. Now, it's hard to imagine T3 without its eventual director, Jonathan Mostow, but a lot of A-listers actually passed on the project.
Yeah.
Cameron himself, of course, was offered it again, but also directors like Ang Lee, who went on to direct The Hulk, and Ridley Scott, who began production on Black Hawk Down.
Wow, big names.
They all declined, leaving this huge void for such a high-profile, highly anticipated sequel. It kind of speaks to the perceived difficulty, I guess, of following up a phenomenon like T2.
For sure. And Jonathan Mostow, when he eventually signed on, his approach was pretty definitive, almost like a breath of fresh air in an industry often plagued by studio interference.
So,
He essentially played hardball with the studio, stated his terms bluntly. Here's the movie I'm going to make. Here's how I'm going to do it. If you don't want to do it my way, you should find a different director.
bold move.
Very bold.
Yeah.
But it allowed him to truly shape the film, gave him the creative control he felt was necessary. He then rewrote most of the script, transforming it into what he described as a road movie.
A road movie, okay?
Yeah, emphasizing constant movement, escalating tension, the characters being on the run, reacting to threats in real time, rather than having like a fixed base of operations.
Okay, now let's talk casting. Because this was, well, it was fraught with controversies and some truly legendary financial negotiations. Linda Hamilton, the incredible Sarah Connor herself, she ultimately opted out of returning.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Huge. She stated that her character's arc was so complete in the first two films, and she felt that in T3, Sarah was conceived as a negligible character who died halfway through with no time to mourn her. Yeah. She genuinely felt the role was kind of disposable, which, for such an iconic, transformative character, that's a pretty damning assessment from the actress who brought her to life. It really signals a shift in the creative vision for Sarah, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And the casting of John Connor was also incredibly challenging. Edward Furlong, who played young John so memorably, so vulnerably in T2,
Yeah, he was great.
he was initially set to return. However, there were major worries that his highly publicized substance abuse issues could jeopardize the project, given the massive budget and production scale.
Right, that makes sense.
According to Furlong himself, he got the gig and was part of the project and celebrated by going out and doing loads of coke.
Oh, wow.
He later reflected that losing it kind of paved the way to him getting back on track, which is a powerful personal insight. But at the time, Mostow and the studio just felt it was simply too risky for such a high-stakes production. That led to Nick Stahl taking on the role.
And then there's Arnold.
Yeah.
The financial negotiations for Arnold Schwarzenegger were just legendary, nothing short of it.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
He commanded a record-breaking $30 million salary, which back then was truly unprecedented for an actor.
30 million.
And to top it off, his deal included a pay-or-play clause, meaning he'd get paid even if the movie wasn't made.
Get out. Pay or play. That's incredible leverage.
Yeah, that's how much confidence or maybe desperation the studio had in him leading the franchise. He was almost like a co-financier of his own star power.
Well, beyond the staggering salary, his contract included this truly mind-boggling list of extravagant perks. We're talking $1.5 million for private jets, a fully equipped gym built into a trailer, 3-bedroom deluxe rooms at hotels, round-the-clock limousines, and several personal bodyguards.
Wow, that's a rider.
And he also secured an incredible 20% of the theater sales, DVDs, television licensing, in-flight entertainment sales, and also video games.
20% of everything.
Pretty much. It just highlights how deeply integrated his brand was with the franchise and how much leverage he had. He essentially became a co-owner of its commercial success across every possible revenue stream. It's really a testament to his unique standing in Hollywood at that time.
Yet, in what's actually a truly surprising act of dedication to the film itself, Arnold gave back $1.4 million of his salary.
He gave money back. Why?
It wasn't a PR stunt or anything. It was specifically so they could pull off the crane smashing through the glass building.
No way. The crane scene.
Exactly. Which is arguably one of the film's most memorable parts.
Yeah.
And just a truly spectacular practical sequence that really stands out.
That's amazing.
It shows a commitment to the craft and the audience experience over just pure personal gain, which feels pretty rare for such a megastar.
Well, and that detail is crucial because it speaks volumes about the filmmaker's commitment to practical effects, even in an era that was becoming more and more dominated by CGI. That entire building segment was done practically. It took 2 weeks to build from scratch. The crane itself weighed 140 tons, and the team only had one chance to pull it off.
One take. Wow.
Yeah, this wasn't something they could easily reshoot. It's an impressive scene, especially when you look at today's CGI-heavy landscape. It demonstrates this tangible weight and impact that computer graphics often struggle to replicate.
Totally.
It was a massive undertaking for just a single pivotal shot in the film, a true feat of engineering and stunt coordination.
Okay, we've just discussed the incredible lengths they went to for the TA-50's return. But let's shift our focus now to the new killer on the block, the TX.
The Terminatrix.
Yeah. She's described as a female-looking assassin, far deadlier than the T-1000. She brought this new level of threat, sophistication, and honestly a very different kind of intimidation to the Terminator line.
Well, there was actually considerable debate internally about having a female Terminator. Some worried that a woman might not be as intimidating in such a physically imposing, action-heavy role. Yeah. They even considered male actors like Vin Diesel, The Rock, 50 Cent for a male version of this new Ultimate Terminator.
Vin Diesel's the Terminator. Interesting.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, they stuck with a woman, and Arnold himself, the massive star, actually chose Kristanna Loken for the role.
Arnold chose her.
Yep. Despite other prominent actresses like Famke Janssen from GoldenEye, Jennifer Lopez, Carrie-Anne Moss from The Matrix being considered, Loken's selection turned out to be an excellent fit, really embodying that cold, predatory efficiency.
Kristanna Loken's performance as the TX is definitely memorable and unsettling. She establishes herself as this immediate, formidable presence.
For sure.
Early on, we see her melt the face of a mannequin, which is such a chilling visual. It feels like it builds off the T-1000 looking at a mannequin in T2, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
It immediately foreshadows her fluid form and that terrifying ability to mimic others. Establishes her as a different, maybe more terrifying kind of shapeshifter, a true evolution of the T-1000.
And what's truly fascinating here is Loken's commitment to the role, both physically and psychologically. She filmed the rodeo drive scene completely nude, which she described as a bit daunting.
I bet.
And she even stood on some broken glass, which ended up getting lodged in her foot during the shoot.
Ouch. That's dedication.
Right. The TX also strategically uses her sexuality as a weapon, famously staring at that Adriana Lima Victoria's Secret poster.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Using her appearance to manipulate men and gain access. Loken herself found this one of the most interesting parts of the film, how the TX could manipulate men and use her appearance as a weapon. That's a significant departure from the previous Terminators.
Definitely.
Even the special effects for her inflatable breasts, which were designed to give her a more human appearance, were apparently a nightmare to film because the bladders kept malfunctioning and failing to inflate synchronously.
Huh. Technical difficulties even there.
Yeah, it proves even small details can be a massive technical challenge.
So the TX demonstrates clearly superior capabilities to her predecessors, making her the ultimate hunter. She's described as unstoppable. And unlike the T-1000, who could really only form simple blades, the TX is able to make complex weapons from her own liquid metal structure, like plasma cannons and saw blades.
Right, the built-in weaponry.
Yeah, that was a significant upgrade. Made her an even more formidable and unpredictable threat than anything John and Sarah had faced before.
And that's not all. Her advancements go far beyond just weapon creation. She can control machines remotely.
Oh yeah, that was scary.
Sending a squadron of emergency vehicles after John just by overriding their systems. And we also see her remotely controlling that massive crane truck in the chase scene we talked about. Her ability to interface with and commandeer existing technology made her a truly systemic threat, not just a physical one. She could turn the world's infrastructure against you, makes her nearly impossible to evade in a modern setting.
The original script for T3, apparently, had a more elaborate connection between the TX and this computer virus she was supposed to carry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, affecting networks and specifically uploading Skynet to AI. This got simplified for the final film, maybe to streamline the plot or, manage budget constraints. But even in the simplified version, that idea of a digital threat was still very much present.
Yeah, despite the simplification, we still see these subtle yet pretty chilling hints of this virus spreading throughout the film.
Like what?
Well, an ATM glitches out. Kate's scanner in the animal hospital malfunctions. There is a news report mentioning a spreading computer virus. 911 calls get cut off at a crucial moment. And there's a general lack of TV signal later on.
Right, all those little things.
These cumulative details, though small, they effectively indicate that the computer virus was indeed taking over critical systems. It sets the stage for Judgment Day to unfold not as a sudden flash, but as this slow, insidious digital takeover.
We also get a glimpse of her mission objectives in a very direct way. Adds a touch of that classic Terminator visual flair.
The HUD screen.
Exactly. Her targets pop up on screen with that sort of retro dial-up noise. It shows John Connor as the primary objective, and below his name, Elizabeth and William Anderson.
Ah, the lieutenants.
Yeah, who were lieutenants in the game tie-in, referenced during her killing spree. It's a small but effective detail that connects the film to the broader Terminator universe and its expanded lore, which is kind of cool for fans.
Definitely.
Okay, we've just dissected the relentless new threat in the TX, but of course, no Terminator film is complete without the original.
He'll be back.
Exactly. And thankfully for John, the return of the iconic T-850 is almost as rapid as the TX's arrival. He shows up just 10 minutes into the movie. This time, it's a T-850 model, a slight adjustment from the T-100 in T1 and the T-800 in T2. It indicates, like, a subtle evolution in its design, right? A slightly updated model number for a slightly updated mission.
Right. And the T-850's arrival in the desert, it immediately speaks to how scrappy the humans are in the future war. It's contrasted with the TX showing up right next to our targets in a populated urban area.
Good point.
It's a stark visual contrast of their origins and how they begin their hunt. One of my favorite small details from that scene, which you might miss, is hearing the crunching of glass under his feet as he starts walking.
Oh, yeah.
And realizing that the sphere was so hot it actually melted the sand into glass upon its arrival.
Whoa, that's cool.
Isn't it? It's a fantastic, subtle piece of world building and special effects that just gives weight to his entry.
Now, Arnold was 54 at the time of filming, and the pressure to get back into that iconic, physically imposing shape must have been immense.
Oh, for sure.
Especially with the obligatory nude scene that had become a staple of his Terminator introductions. The expectations from fans, and probably from himself, were incredibly high. He was returning to one of his most beloved roles after more than a decade.
And he truly delivered. Arnold worked out for 3 hours a day over the space of 6 months.
3 hours a day, wow.
Yeah. And he managed to get to the exact same body weight and muscle measurements he had while shooting Terminator 2, which was 12 years prior when he was 42.
That's incredible.
It's impressive as hell for anyone, let alone someone in their 50s. It just showcases his unwavering dedication to the role and the extraordinary physical demands it entailed. He looked as imposing and formidable as ever.
He really did. Now, the T-850 has some fun, slightly odd programming quirks that lean into the film's lighter, more humorous moments, which was definitely a departure from the stoic protector of T2.
Right. The humor was dialed up a bit.
Yeah. He famously says, "Talk to the hand," a catchphrase that became kind of synonymous with Arnold at the time.
Oh, yeah, that was everywhere.
And he sports those star-shaped sunglasses from the strip club. These moments added a touch of personality to the otherwise unfeeling machine, softening his image slightly for the audience, maybe.
Well, it begs the question, though, why would a Terminator, a cold, calculating machine, have fashion sense that makes him look cool or incorporate pop culture catchphrases?
Good question.
But novelization actually provides a fascinating explanation. It says he was programmed to look similarly to the original Terminator so John would be more trusting of him?
Psychological warfare.
Kind of, yeah. With these quirks, likely part of that psychological conditioning. This was part of his program, likely put in place by Kate Brewster in the future, knowing John's previous experience.
Makes sense.
We also see him getting the shotgun in a real blink-and-you'll-miss-it moment, just hanging casually in the back of the strip club, ready for his mission to begin.
Now, fans have pointed to a truly fascinating detail, almost a deep cut, that suggests a broader interconnectedness among Terminators.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
When the T-850 pulls down the visor to look for keys in the truck, it's precisely what John told him to do in T2.
Oh, wow. I never caught that.
Right. The implication here is profound. Fans theorize it indicates the Terminators have neural net learning capabilities and a shared knowledge bucket that allows them to all learn the same thing.
A shared knowledge bucket.
Suggesting a form of collective intelligence across the models. That's a chilling thought, isn't it? That Skynet's machines are constantly evolving and sharing information. That's right, and it's a brilliant, chilling detail that really takes the lore to a new level. Neural net learning capabilities.
Right.
That implies these Terminators aren't just pre-programmed automatons.
Right.
They can adapt, learn from their individual experiences, and potentially, as the theory goes, even share that learned information across the network. So a survival trick one T-800 picked up in the past could theoretically inform all future models.
Making them collectively smarter.
Exactly. Smarter, more adaptable, and ultimately even more dangerous. It suggests Skynet isn't just building better machines, but building a better collective intelligence designed to defeat humanity more effectively.
Wow. Okay, the film also consciously keeps the iconic get off and get out lines throughout the chase scenes. Direct link back to the T-800 telling the truck driver to get out in T1, and the T-1000 saying it when stealing the helicopter in T2. It's a nice little Easter egg for longtime fans.
And Arnold later brings things full circle with the fire engine when he shoves the firefighters out and says, "Get out," which is a nice callback that feels earned, not forced.
Yeah.
It acknowledges the franchise's history while still pushing the narrative forward. It's moments like these that bridge the films and satisfy the dedicated fan base.
Okay, a fan favorite return and a true survivor is Dr. Silberman.
Ah, yes, Earl Boone.
This is his third and final appearance, making him the only other actor to appear in all three films alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's right.
And he clearly remembers encountering the Terminator. His look, just the sheer visible trauma on his face, shows all the psychological damage he's endured.
Poor guy.
He survived 3 run-ins with the Terminator, each one more terrifying than the last. Makes him an incredibly unlucky yet weirdly resilient recurring character. His presence really underscores the lasting impact of these machines.
Well, there was even a planned return for Lance Henriksen, an actor steeped in Terminator lore.
No way, Bishop.
Well, yeah, but in Terminator, he was originally intended to play the Terminator itself in the first film, then got cast as Detective Vukovich.
Oh, right, the detective. Yeah. And he was going to return in a wheelchair for T3, but that idea was unfortunately dropped.
Ah, that would have been cool.
It would have been a fascinating nod to the franchise's history and a cool in-joke for fans to see him back again, having somehow survived the events of T1.
Another striking detail that was ultimately cut from the final film, a deleted scene apparently showed Silberman caught in the blast of the nukes.
Oh, wow, like Sarah's nightmare in T2.
Exactly. Similar to the dream sequence, it would have been a grim, definitive, and visually powerful end for his character, leaving no doubt about his fate.
So why cut it? Seems pretty impactful.
The reason is actually quite poignant. The closeness to September 11th made the creative team decide to scrap it.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. Sensitivity.
Yeah. The VFX team was even instructed to make the nuke explosion relatively low quality when compared to the one from T2 to avoid causing too many issues and just be sensitive to recent real-world events.
A conscious choice, then.
Yeah, it was a conscious choice to soften the impact of that particular visual, demonstrating the filmmaker's sensitivity to a very real national trauma.
Right.
Now, the scene where the Terminator exits with the coffin on his shoulder.
Iconic.
Totally iconic. With that slow-mo moment as he turns towards Silberman, that coffin, though designed to be lightweight, combined with his jacket alone, weighed 40 pounds and a really heavy gun.
Yeah, that looked heavy.
It required a harness digitally removed to create the illusion of his immense strength. It's a testament to the seamless integration of practical effects and digital wizardry working together to create that powerful, effortless image.
Okay, let's unpack the plot itself then. Moving from that tense road movie feel to what becomes the sense of inevitable doom.
Right. After averting Judgment Day, or so he thought, John Connor is now a drifter living off the grid. Seems like he's trying to escape the destiny he once fought so hard to create. He believes the future is safe. But in reality, Judgment Day was only delayed, not prevented. This fundamental shift, it redefines the entire premise of the franchise, doesn't it? It really challenges the optimism of P2.
Oh, it's profound, because it retroactively tells us that Sarah Connor's immense struggle and sacrifice in T2 wasn't about stopping the apocalypse, but merely delaying it. It reframes the hero's journey from a fight for prevention to a fight for survival and leadership within the inevitable. Jonathan Mostow's vision for John was deliberate and, well, poignant. He wanted a very different character from the young, defiant John of T2, someone who has carried the burden of being a leader in the future but is now very lonely because nobody else in the world knows about it or believes it.
Isolated.
Totally isolated. He's pretty downtrodden and depressed, working off the grid so he can't be tracked, reflecting a kind of Luke from The Last Jedi type of isolated, burdened hero.
Interesting comparison.
And that scene on the bridge where John contemplates suicide because his life has no meaning without the war, It's particularly poignant. It highlights his deep existential crisis and the weight of a fate he believes he's escaped. That's a much darker, yet arguably more realistic take on destiny.
Amidst John's despair, though, we meet Kate Brewster, a veterinary surgeon who becomes John's future wife and second-in-command in the Resistance.
Right.
The life before the machine strike seems so mundane, as you noted earlier, like working at fast food restaurants and trying to buy plates for their little homes. She's such a stark contrast to the hardened warrior Sarah Connor, yet she's thrust into this apocalyptic scenario.
Which leads to a fascinating casting detail. Sophia Bush actually shot a month worth of scenes for the role of Kate.
A whole month?
Yeah, but Mostow felt she seemed way too young at 19 playing 23. Despite trying several tricks to make her look older on camera, the camera, as they say, doesn't lie, and she simply looked too youthful for the part. She was ultimately replaced with Claire Danes, a decision that Mostow described as heartbreaking for Bush, as it was a huge break for her at the time. Really highlights the pressures of casting in Hollywood.
Wow, tough break. Now, the film hints at this strong sense of destiny between John and Kate, almost as if their paths were always meant to converge. They even shared their first kiss, the night before the events of T2.
Oh, I forgot about that detail.
Yeah. Even though the film's overarching message is there's no such thing as fate, which is a direct contradiction to Sarah's iconic "no fate but what we make." Line and T2, their destined meeting and predetermined roles in the future, feel like they contradict this very idea.
It's a compelling paradox, isn't it?
Yeah. Leaves you wondering if fate truly can be averted.
Well, Kate's backstory does further build her character and explain some of her innate capabilities and surprising resilience in the face of all that chaos. Her father, General Brewster, was a workaholic, right? And Kate was raised on an army base. This detail explains so she knows the difference between a real gun and a paintball one, which is a crucial skill that comes into play later in the film. It's a small but effective way to provide context for her character's competence and why she's able to adapt so quickly to the escalating crisis.
Okay, the animal hospital scene. That was intense. And it really leans into the franchise's horror roots, doesn't it? A subtle but effective callback to the Terminator.
Definitely felt darker.
John is literally put up in a cage by Kate, trapping him, right when the TX arrives. The TX then shoots Bloody Betsy, a seemingly innocent pet owner.
Yeah, that was brutal.
And her subsequent action of tasting her blood just chillingly leans into the horror vibes that the franchise started with in the original Terminator. Remind us that these machines aren't just killers, but alien, unsettling predators.
And the TX's capabilities are further highlighted there, too. She can scan the DNA of her target, leading to her intense, almost predatory reaction to John's bandage.
Right, that weird sniffing thing.
Yeah. A moment that, as the source notes, is both unsettling and effective in showing her alien hunter's instinct. Kristanna Loken, with so little lines of dialogue, had to do a lot of things non-verbally. Apparently, she even practiced with a mime coach for several weeks to convey the TX's alien, unsettling persona through her precise expressions and movements. Made her a truly unique threat.
Wow, mime coach. Okay. Now, the massive crane chase scene, that was absolutely paramount to the director, Jonathan Mostow.
Yeah, he really wanted that.
He said it was extremely important, as chases like this had been a staple of the franchise, setting a high bar after T2's amazing truck chase.
Sure.
This is precisely why Arnold gave up some of his salary to make it happen, which involved the T-850 going crashing through a building. That impressive scene that was all done practically, showcasing an incredible commitment to realism and tangible destruction.
And the practical nature of that crane sequence really does set it apart. Gives it a weight and impact that CG often lacks. The building taking 2 weeks to build, the crane itself weighed 140 tons, and they only had one chance to pull it off.
Incredible pressure.
It showcases the incredible feat of engineering, coordination, and just nerve required for those practical effects. Mostow also wanted all the scenes like this to be delivered on the road so we never get the feeling of losing dynamism.
Keeping the momentum.
Exactly, ensuring a constant sense of forward momentum and escalating danger in the narrative, keeping the audience right on the edge of their seats.
Okay, the cemetery scene. This holds a significant revelation about Sarah Connor's fate, and a pretty clever twist.
The weapons cache, right?
Yeah. Sarah's grave is actually a weapon lockup, a secret stash for the Resistance. We learned she was cremated in Mexico, and her ashes were scattered to the sea because she had a leukemia diagnosis and was given 6 months to live.
Wow, leukemia.
Yet in a testament to her strength and defiance, She lasted for 3 years to ensure Judgment Day didn't happen, or so she hoped. John's poignant line, "Every day after this one is a gift," is a direct nod to an alternate, more hopeful ending of T2.
Oh, the playground ending.
Exactly, where a much older Sarah reflects on the peaceful future she helped create. It's such a heartbreaking inversion of that hope here.
And then the T-850's true mission in T3 gets revealed. It's not to avert Judgment Day, but to actually protect the pair from the fallout of the inevitable.
Yeah.
It explicitly states that Judgment Day can only be postponed, and future John Connor has come to accept this. This fundamentally shifts the entire premise of the previous films, acknowledging the terrifying inevitability of the conflict.
It's huge.
It's a stark, almost nihilistic redefinition of the entire struggle, removes the hope of prevention and replaces it with the necessity of survival.
And the T-850 explicitly describes itself as an obsolete machine who doesn't stand a chance against the TX. The TX is framed as an anti-Terminator, because Skynet's now used to the tricks of the humans and has designed a countermeasure to their previous methods of defeating its machines.
Smart, from Skynet's perspective.
Yeah, makes the TX a far more sophisticated and specialized threat, specifically designed to counter the Resistance's familiar methods of defense and the capabilities of earlier Terminators.
And the novelization. It even reveals a truly chilling detail that adds to the grim inevitability. It says that this T-850 model killed John in the future.
Whoa, wait. This model killed future John.
Yep. On July 4th, Independence Day, adding some poetry to it, given John's future role as a leader of humanity.
Man, that's dark.
It's a tragic, ironic fate for the savior of mankind, delivered by the very model sent to protect him in the past. Underscores the cyclical nature of the conflict and John's ultimate sacrifice.
Okay, let's delve into Skynet's evolution, because this film presents a truly modern and arguably more insidious threat than its predecessors.
Definitely feels more relevant now.
Yeah. General Brewster, Kate's father, he gets pulled into the unfolding crisis. He's told about the spreading computer virus and pressured to unleash their AI to destroy it. But he has his reservations, right? He senses the immense unknown risk involved in giving an AI so much control.
In this moment, truly, it's even more relevant today. As AI becomes so ingrained in our society, you do wonder what would happen if one went rogue and had access to everything on Earth.
Seriously.
We learn the virus has already entered air traffic, internet, and power plants, which are identified as the trifecta of critical systems in which humanity can be taken down.
The trifecta.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Exactly. Think about it. Air traffic controls all global movement and commerce. The internet is the central nervous system for virtually all modern communication, finance, infrastructure, and power plants provide the energy for everything.
Society just stops.
Without those three, modern society would grind to a complete halt and descend into chaos almost immediately. That's why they're the trifecta, the foundational pillars of our civilization, perfectly targeted by Skynet, makes its takeover far more devastating and swift. This depiction of a distributed, systemic AI threat was remarkably prescient for a 2003 film.
Absolutely. And then there's that crucial piece of lore that fundamentally redefines Skynet's origins, how it became so powerful. Cyberdyne, the company that created Skynet in the original films, went bankrupt.
Right, they stopped them in T2.
Yeah, but Skynet was bought by CRS for $15 billion, then overseen by the Pentagon. This new corporate and military oversight makes its eventual rise even more chillingly plausible, because it's humanity itself and its hubris and desperation that gives Skynet the keys to the kingdom.
Which means Skynet is no longer just a single supercomputer in a single location, like a physical brain that could be destroyed.
Not anymore.
Now it's a software system embedded across networks worldwide. It's decentralized, ubiquitous, and virtually unstoppable once activated. The revelation hits hard for John and Kate. The General's desperate gamble has failed, and the day it's activated is today.
That moment.
It's not a future threat they can prevent, but an immediate, unavoidable catastrophe unfolding in real time right before their eyes.
As chaos erupts and Skynet truly begins its activation, we see the terrifying T1s come to life.
The original Terminators.
Yeah. And these weren't just CG creations. They were fully functioning robots built by the legendary Stan Winston himself.
Stan Winston, legend.
Seeing these hulking tank-like machines roll out, you really felt the primal mechanical threat they represented, almost a brutal preview of the Terminators to come, a tangible link between the current machines and the future war.
Absolutely. And their design was so intentional, a brilliant example of world building through practical effects. Winston's team built them to be hydraulically powered with visible neck pistons and wiring, clearly signaling their lineage to the T-800.
Yeah, you could see the connection.
Their menacing red lights for eyes, that same iconic silver color, and especially those tank treads, they echoed the larger ones that we saw rolling over the skulls in the future war sequences from the previous movies.
Right.
It was a brilliant visual continuity that deeply solidified them as the true, terrifying precursors in Skynet's robotic evolution. It's a testament to practical effects that they feel so tangibly menacing and powerful. Winston's dedication was so extreme, they even created life-size, fully robotic replicas of Arnold and Christina for scenes with explosions.
Full replicas. Wow. That's commitment.
Showing the commitment to realism over purely digital solutions.
Now, under immense pressure, and with the world's critical systems failing all around him, General Brewster caves in. He gives full control of the military over to Skynet.
The fatal error.
This is the fatal, tragic decision that truly ushers in Judgment Day, driven by a desperate, misplaced hope for a solution, believing he's fighting a virus with a cure.
And then the TX infiltrates the base, posing as Kate. She's initially gunned down by the Terminator in this dramatic fake-out that momentarily fools the audience.
Yeah, you think it's over?
Making us think she's finally defeated. However, she quickly recovers, demonstrating her liquid metal resilience, and then does shoot the general, delivering a chilling play on the classic line, "She'll be back anyway," underscoring her unstoppable nature and the general's tragic error in judgment. It's the moment that really seals humanity's fate.
Okay, we've reached the climax of the film, and with it, that profound thematic shift, the acceptance of fate.
Right.
Skynet becomes self-aware, and we're told that in an hour, it's going to initiate an attack on humanity, with the T-1s going trigger-happy and beginning their assault on the facility. The future John fought to prevent is now here. It's happening.
And as the world descends into chaos, John and Kate are told to go to Crystal Peak, which John believes is Skynet's core, right? The central brain they need to shut down to save humanity.
Yeah, the big red button.
But it's actually a devastating deception. A fucking lie, as John puts it. It's a bunker designed solely to protect them. The general knew Skynet couldn't be shut down. He just wanted to protect his daughter.
Oh, man.
Making a heartbreaking sacrifice driven by paternal love and a desperate acceptance of the inevitable. It wasn't about prevention. It was about ensuring a future for the resistance.
Wow. Now, the Terminator versus Terminator fight in the latter half of the film is a definite highlight. Delivers that visceral, destructive action fans expect.
Oh, yeah. Smashing everything.
Smashing everything in sight, including a bathroom sink in one memorable moment. They end up in a particle accelerator, which was apparently created using ingenious VFX trickery and rearranged sections of the set to save the $1.5 million it would have cost to build a full one.
Smart filmmaking.
Yeah. This included using map paintings to cover some of the backgrounds where the set ran on past reality. A clever way to expand the perceived scale of the set within a limited budget.
And the most complicated VFX shots in the film were apparently when the TX gets stuck to it. The particle accelerator's massive magnet and her liquid metal skin starts to peel off.
Oh yeah, that looked painful.
A gruesome and visually stunning display of her vulnerability. The T-850 then arrives and, in a moment of dramatic tension, overrides the program to take control, essentially sacrificing himself to ensure John and Kate's survival. It's a compelling visual representation of two powerful machines in a death struggle, pushing each other to their absolute limits.
The T-850's final act is to use the fuel cell set up before to blow them both up. Fulfills that classic Chekhov's gun principle from earlier in the film, where a seemingly minor detail becomes crucial later.
Right, the hydrogen fuel cells.
Yeah. The TX crawling along the floor in her damaged state, relentlessly pursuing them. It riffs off the T-1000's similarly unyielding pursuit in T-1, doesn't it? Reinforcing her unyielding nature.
Definitely echoes it.
And in a grim foreshadowing, the T-850 tells John he'll see him again. A chilling nod to its future tragic role in killing John.
Ugh, knowing what we know from the novelization.
Yeah, heavy.
And the true bit punch of that ending, which I think still hits hard today, is the realization that Crystal Peak wasn't Skynet's core at all.
Just a bunker.
Just a bunker. More like an underground doomsday bunker, fully stocked with oxygen, comfy chairs, even a bar and a podium for the president to deliver a speech from.
Wow.
It becomes chillingly clear. This wasn't about stopping Judgment Day. It was the perfect place to lie low and simply wait out the apocalypse. Their mission had been survival, not prevention, all along. What a devastating turn.
Absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
In the bunker, as the world outside is just consumed by fire and the nukes fall, John assumes command after answering a radio call.
The mantle passes.
Yeah. He's trained his whole life to fight the machines and is the only person on Earth who has extensive knowledge of them, making him the reluctant yet uniquely qualified leader. This moment truly marks his transition into the leader he was always destined to be, even if it's under the most dire circumstances imaginable.
And the emotional weight of that ending is just palpable, even all these years later. Watching the nukes take off and 3 billion get killed, it's easy to get goosebumps and maybe even tear up a bit.
Yeah, it's heavy.
John's dream of the future has sadly come true. And that haunting image of the Terminator skull amongst the clouds of ash signals that the real battle begins. It's a powerful and unavoidable conclusion that establishes this new, darker paradigm for the franchise. The fight isn't over, it's just beginning, from a position of catastrophic loss.
Which leads directly to the film's core thematic shift, doesn't it? A reevaluation of the entire franchise's message. Judgment Day isn't something to prevent, it's something to prepare for.
Exactly.
The narrative isn't about escaping fate anymore, but accepting and confronting it head-on. Transitioning from a story of hope to one of grim inevitability and the need for relentless resilience. So what does this all mean for you, the listener, as you reflect on this deep dive? Terminator 3 truly wasn't just a sequel, it was a reset. It taught us that fate might bend, but it doesn't break, challenging the very premise of its predecessors in a profound and honestly almost unsettling way. It forces us to reconsider the entire struggle of Sarah and John Connor.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Terminator 3 is incredibly prescient in how it portrays Skynet's evolution. It goes from a single supercomputer to a distributed AI system, just like how modern AI today is embedded across cloud services, apps, and networks.
Yeah, that's scary relevant.
It really is. This raises an important question for our current world. The fear now isn't just physically imposing machines, it's the threat of uncontrollable autonomous systems built without fully understanding their consequences, which can infiltrate every aspect of our infrastructure. It's a chillingly relevant message for our current technological landscape.
So what's the takeaway from this deep dive for us then? The film forces us to confront a terrifying thought in an increasingly AI-driven world. Are we, like General Brewster, unknowingly handing over control to systems we don't fully comprehend? Or are we truly preparing for an inevitable future? One where the lines between fate and free will become increasingly blurred. And maybe the best we can do is simply survive.
Heavy questions.
Definitely. We've delved deep into Terminator 3. Rise of the Machines, exploring its ambitious production, its surprising details, and its bold thematic shifts. It's a film that definitely makes you think about destiny and the accelerating power of technological advancement.
Indeed, Terminator 3 prompts us to consider the fine line between free will and an unyielding fate. It leaves us with a provocative thought. Is the ability to postpone fate a true victory, or merely a deferral of the inevitable, giving us just enough time to appreciate every day as a gift before the storm truly arrives? Something for you to mull over as you go about your day.
With your friends and hit subscribe to join the Frame by Frame crew for more cinematic adventures. Don't miss out.